بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How are you, my students? I hope that you're happy and healthy and ready for today's lesson, which is Unit 1 project. So before we do that, open your workbooks page 86 now. Open your workbooks page 86 and look at exercise I here. Read the jokes and choose the best punchline. Underline the punch word. So remember the theme of this unit. It's about jokes, it's about laughter. So read the jokes and choose the best punchline. Underline the punch word. So we have here some punchlines here. Which tire was flat? The chemical formula. Well, you told us he's H2O. You don't have any books. Who was driving? So, who was driving? I am Tess. I won't get sick. I won't have to write anything, right? I am the 9th letter of the alphabet. What happened to all the books? So these are all the punchlines. Usually they come in the last of the joke. Usually they are the last sentence of the joke. And usually the punch word is the last word, or the word that makes you laugh, the word that when you notice and understand, that will make you laugh. So number 1 here, let's read the first joke. 4 high school boys were late for their morning classes. After lunch, they reported to the teacher that they had had a flat tire on the way to school. Much to their relief, the teacher smiled and said, notice here the clever teacher here. Much to their relief, the teacher smiled and said, well, you missed the test, so sit down and take out a piece of paper. He waited for them to sit down. Then he said, first question. So what do you think the punchline here would be? What is the first question here? So, very good. We will say, who was driving? Who was driving? So this is not an actual test, just to see if they are telling the truth or not. So he said, who was driving? Of course, the 4 of them, it's impossible for them to write the same name because they are, of course, lying. They didn't have any flat tire. They're just eating. So here, the joke here is that the clever teacher asked them to write down who was driving. So this is the punchline here. Who was driving? The second joke here. Teacher, Brian, what is the chemical formula of water? So the chemistry teacher, obviously here. Brian, what is the chemical formula for water? So Brian replied, HIJKLMNO. The teacher, what are you saying? So what do you think the completion of this joke here? What is the punchline here? Why did Brian answer like that? He said HIJKLMN. So let's see the correct punchline here. Brian, well, you told us it's H2O. H2O. We all know the chemical formula for water is H2O. H, the number 2O, but he misunderstood it as letters here, alphabetical letters, from the letter H to letter O, and all the letters in between. That's why his reply was HIJKLMNO. The teacher asked him, what are you saying? He said, well, you told us it's H2O. So this is here the punchline. The third joke here, a class of 5th graders was riding along in a school bus, happy to be on an educational trip. The teacher told them that they would write out what they saw for their homework. Most of them were looking out in the window and pointing to different things to write as a homework. All of a sudden, the teacher noticed that a boy was sitting on the floor between the seats with his hands over his eyes. Why are you sitting like that? Are you okay? Of course, this is the teacher. Well, said the boy, if I don't see anything. So what do you think the boy completed here? What did he say? If I don't see anything, very good, I won't have to write anything, right? Because the teacher said that they will have homework about what they saw on this educational trip. The teacher told them, you will have to write a report as a homework to write about what did you see in this trip. That's why the boy sat down and closed his eyes. He said, if I don't see anything, I won't have to write anything, right? So this is here the punchline. The next joke here, teacher, Tess, give me a sentence starting with I. So teacher asked Tess, give me a sentence starting with I. Tess, I is. The teacher corrected her. No, Tess, always say I am. Tess said, all right. And then what do you think she completed? What do you think Tess said next? All right. Because she said here, I is. Then the teacher corrected her and said, you always say I am. She said, okay. What do you think she said next? Choose from the punchlines before. So let's see the answer here. All right. I am the 9th letter of the alphabet. Because she was going to say I, as in the letter I is the 9th letter of the alphabet. When the teacher corrected her by saying I am, she said, okay, I am the 9th letter of the alphabet. Jumping on to the next joke here. Student, Mr. Smith, I ain't got no books. So the student is talking to his teacher, Mr. Smith, I ain't got no books. Teacher, young man, you mean I don't have any books? You don't have any books. We don't have any books. They don't have any books. Do you see what I'm getting at? The student said, I think so. Then what do you think the student completed here? Again, student said to Mr. Smith, I ain't got no books, because this is very informal here. I ain't got no books. The teacher wanting to correct him, of course. Young man, you mean I don't have any books? You don't have any books. We don't have any books. They don't have any books. Do you see what I'm getting at here? So he wants to teach him that you say, I don't have. You don't say, I ain't got. Then the student, I think so. So what do you think the completion of the joke here? What's the punchline here? So let's see the correct punchline. What happened to all the books? So this is what the student is concerned about. Of course, he misunderstood what the teacher is trying to teach him. He said, what happened to all the books? No one have books, because the teacher said, you don't have any books, we don't have any books, they don't have any books. That's why the student was curious, and he said, what happened to all the books? So instead of learning the difference between ain't and have not, he said, what happened to all the books? So here's some question. Which joke do you think is the funniest and why? Of course, you can choose whatever joke that you find the funniest, but you have to write why. Why do you think this joke is the funniest? So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just a matter of opinion and preference. Which joke do you find is the funniest and why? For me, for example, the books joke, the one he said, you don't have, I don't have, because the student didn't understand anything, because the teacher was trying to teach him something. At the end, the student didn't learn anything. He was just curious about what happened to all the books, which I found funny. Number 2, which joke is the least funny and why? Which joke is the least funny and why? When you say the least funny, it means that they are all funny, but which one is the least funny? Of course, this is a matter of preference. I said here, the boy in the bus. I find that this one is the least funny. Why? Because I didn't find it that funny for me. Number 3, which joke can you improve? How? Make any changes that you think are necessary. Do you see any joke that you think that you can improve, and how, and make changes? So for me, I've chosen the high school students joke. I would have made them confess in the end and blame each other, because the teacher told them, they didn't give them an actual test. He was trying to show them that I know that you are lying. In a matter of minutes, I can prove that. In the first question, maybe, who was driving? So I will add maybe in the end that they will blame each other. This is your idea. No, it's your idea, and so on. Jumping to exercise J here, page 87. Jump to page 87. Write as many words as you can to describe the picture. Notice the picture in page 87. Imagine what the student is thinking. Write sentences to tell his thoughts and show how one thing has an effect on a second thing. As in, the more I read about Ibn Battuta, the more I understand about his travels. So write as many words as you can to describe the picture in 87. Imagine what the student is thinking. Write sentences to tell his thoughts and show how one thing has an effect on a second thing. For an example here, the more I read about Ibn Battuta, the more I understand about his travels. So give me some verbs here. Action words. Of course, when we say action words, we mean verbs. From the picture, can you elicit some verbs from the picture? Of course, I came up with some verbs here. Sit, think, study, focus, concentrate, pay attention, support, touch, and rest. Of course, you can come up with more, but I just did these. Describing words. Of course, meaning adjectives, because of course adjectives are describing words. So can you come up with some adjectives from the picture? Let's see here. Careful, quiet, empty, loaded, piled, hard, demanding, challenging, sophisticated, analytical, and advanced. So these are some of the adjectives that I tried to come up with just looking at the picture. Again, careful, quiet, empty, loaded, piled, hard, demanding, challenging, sophisticated, analytical, and advanced. So here, try to come up with sentences, because here we said write sentences to tell his thoughts and show how one thing has an effect on a second thing. For example, here, the first sentence I've written, the more I study physics, the more questions I have. The more I study physics, the more questions I have. So try to come up with just 2 more sentences. Very good. So I've written, the more challenging the topic, the more interested I get. The more challenging the topic, the more interested I get. And for the third sentence, the more I concentrate, the more analytical I become. The more I concentrate, the more analytical I become. Very good. Exercise K here, page 88. Now it's your turn to write a joke. Use the information in the article to help you. Number 1, before you write, plan out the details of your joke in the chart. So try to come up with a joke in the chart here. Main characters. Of course, you can fill the chart with any main characters or anything you want. This is your own writing. This is your own ideas. So this is just me here answering. The main characters, for example, a burglar and his son. And these here you can see optional, you want to write them or not. Where? At a house they want to rob. When? At night. What's the situation here? They want to rob the house, but the boy is scared. Audience assumption, what do they expect? The boy won't be scared because he's a burglar, of course. Reality of the situation, the irony here, the audience assumption and the reality. Burglars aren't supposed to be afraid of other burglars. The punchline, I'm afraid of burglars. The punch word is burglar. So I filled the chart with my own ideas here about a joke that I created. Of course, you can come up with anything that you want. Now that we have filled the chart, write your joke. When you finish, read it to a classmate to see if it's funny. For example, a burglar and his son were trying to rob a house in the middle of the night. The father told his son to jump in the house and open the front door for him, but the son refused and said, I can't get inside alone in the middle of the night. Why? I'm afraid of burglars. I'm afraid of burglars. So this is the irony here. He's afraid of burglars while he is a burglar himself. Exercise L here. Exercise L, look at the picture. Use the information in the thought bubbles. This is the thought bubble here, of course, to complete the wishes and regrets of each person. More than one answer may be possible. So we see here Fatima say, I don't know any funny jokes. So Fatima wishes, she's regretting here, of course. So she's wishing for what here? Yes, Fatima wishes she knew some funny jokes. Fatima wishes she knew some funny jokes. So now I think you understand. We read the bubble here, then we try to come up with an answer to write here. Number 2 here, Nawal. My sister didn't find the joke amusing. She didn't laugh. So Nawal here says, my sister didn't find the joke amusing. She didn't laugh. So what does Nawal regret? So we say Nawal regrets telling her sister the joke because her sister didn't laugh at all. That's why Nawal is regretting it. Number 3, Aisha wishes for what? Let's see what Aisha says here. My sister never tells me funny stories. So Aisha wishes, yes, her sister would tell her funny stories. Aisha wishes that her sister would tell her funny stories. Number 4, Badriya here. I've been studying all week for exams. I feel down. I want to feel happy again. So she feels down, she feels sad. I want to feel happy again. So I think this is an easy one. Badriya wishes she could feel happy again. Badriya wishes she could feel happy again. Number 5 here, we have 3 people here, Hamid, Khalid, and Jasim. Hamid, Khalid, and Jasim, let's read what they say. A student with a parrot on his shoulder leaves a lecture, so he's trying to tell a joke here. And Jasim says, I have one, a family of mice, and he's also trying to tell a joke here. What does Khalid say? I want Hamid and Jasim to stop telling terrible jokes. They aren't funny. So what does Khalid wish for? So Khalid wishes, very good, Hamid and Jasim would stop telling terrible jokes. They're not funny. So Khalid wishes Hamid and Jasim would stop telling terrible jokes. So jumping on to today's lesson, design a PowerPoint presentation about a sitcom. This is the objective here. This is the project here. Research films or sitcoms on TV. Find scenes that you find really funny. Choose 2 films or sitcoms and watch the scenes again if possible. Make notes in the chart. Include as many details as you can. Use your information or notes to prepare a PowerPoint presentation for your class. So this is the chart here. Choose a film or a sitcom. So write their titles here, 1 and 2. You have to choose 2, remember. Then write the scene, the description of the scene here, number 1 and 2. The characters, their name, role, the actor, write the information here. Script, what characters say. So write the script here. Action or actions in the scene, what happens in the scene, write the action. Funny element or behavior, funny element, maybe it's a behavior, words, appearance, and so on. So you have to fill them here. So you have to fill this whole chart, and remember you have to choose 2 sitcoms or 2 films. Act out funny scenes in the class for your classmates to guess the roles, actors, or film. Try to remember the lines for the script. Present your presentation. Once you're finished, present your presentation. And with that, we reach the end of this lesson. See you next lesson, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.